A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to Movies TV Mad, and welcome to the Movies TV Mad Daily. And we're live. Yes, Zack Snyder decided to get into the Bat-Cat-Gate debate, and there you have it, a lovely graphic picture. Thank you very much for this, Zack. Actually, I don't think Snyder is joking here, because at the top you can notice that he writes one word. What is the word he writes? Canon. Well, what is one thing that the Snyder Cut is not to the DCEU and Justice League is? Canon. So I think he was getting at the company, and he wants his army of people to talk about how WB are interfering with another creative by not allowing him to depict Batman giving Catwoman a good eating out. This has become bigger than anyone ever thought. I'm sure WB are not happy with one of the creatives from Harley Quinn, who publicly said that they said to him, we're trying to sell toys. We want to market these characters. We want to sell toys to them, and we don't think this is very tasteful. Maybe you should have thought of that before you did an adult animated cartoon. Now, basically, this is an adult cartoon. It's the same with The Simpsons and Family Guy. It's on that level. So these adult things should be allowed to happen. But I can understand where the studio is falling here. They're a bit worried about this. So they decided not to do it. But unfortunately, maybe innocently or nefariously, this creative from Harley Quinn decided to actually say it publicly. And now it's got a lot of publicity. And Zack Snyder posting that just made it a lot bigger than it was before. But there was already jokes and debates about the whole thing. Anyway, when someone makes a joke and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on, and you just think, for Christ's sake, it's not funny anymore. That's what's going on with Bat-Cat-Gate. And so I think Snyder's done it to kind of put WB down. So obviously he's trending number 6 in America right now because of this. The mind just boggled, doesn't it? But I just think it doesn't really matter. Do I need to see Batman giving Catwoman a good eating out? No. I mean, funny thing is, right? Some of these Snyder fans are hilarious. They said, yeah, Zack's teaching us how to do it. I said to one Snyder fan, if you need to be taught that that's a good thing to do to a woman for her pleasure, then maybe you deserve to be cheated on. That's why a lot of women are coming to me, because I'm willing to do and go places other men are not willing to go. Anyway, joking aside, it does bring another debate. I've written a few points I want to discuss before we do our entertainment updates. And my next one is movies and creativity versus selling toys. This is very interesting. It's the same reason Snyder was removed from Warner Brothers. But more tragically than the removal of Snyder and his arc not being completed was the removal and the stealing of Tim Burton's third Batman movie. Because at the time, there was the same conversations. Oh, Tim Burton's Batman is too depressing, too dark. Batman Returns is too dark. This is not for kids. This is not going to sell any toys. That's why they brought in Joe Schumacher. And is it Joe Schumacher? I think it's Joe Schumacher, or it's something Schumacher, isn't it, right? Who did Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So, because they lightened it up, they made it campy like the 60s series. But that's the reason Tim Burton was removed. It's another reason why his Superman film never saw the light of day, wasn't even allowed to start filming. And, this is an important question here. Freedom of creativity, artistic integrity versus selling toys versus big corporate Hollywood business. Now, I do understand that at the end of the day, we look at this as purely an entertainment format. But to these studios, it's not. They need to entertain to make the money, but it's the way they entertain that's very important here. And if they can't sell the toys and the merchandising because things are too dark and too adult, they have a problem. If kids and mums and dads can't go to these movies, they have a financial problem. This is why Shazam was perfect for them. They didn't really care that the movie made around 300 million globally, because they tripled that in Shazam merch and toy sales. That's why they didn't care. The movie made a profit, but it made probably a lot more money, as I say, tripled its outlay in toys and merchandising. That's why Shazam was perfect. That's why they're rebooting the universe, and that's why they're going to give us a more light tone. But what's right? What is the right thing to do? Dark superhero movies, creative integrity, artistic integrity, or a studio selling toys? Well, I don't think either one is the right answer. I actually feel that the creatives and the studio and the corporates can come together in the middle and do something to give everyone the perfect franchise. I think that's the way you do it. Now, this brings me to my next point. Kurt, Manchester United fan, Australia Glazers out. Hello, brother. Hello, Kurt. A very good morning and good evening to you where you are. It's morning here, and a very good morning to you, Kurt. Right. Here's my next point. James Gunn responds to my comment about the MCU culture. Now, this was very, very interesting. So I'm going to go to it because I really, really want to discuss it because I've already discussed it on my other socials. You may have noticed, you may have not noticed. You can follow me at Movies TV Mad 555 on Instagram and the same on TikTok. So where are we? Let's have a look. Here we are, here we are. Let's start from the beginning. So it all starts with Stuart Duncan. So add James Gunn. Let's say in an alternate reality, universes collided and you were given the green light to complete creative control over Guardians of the Galaxy versus Suicide Squad movie. Which team would win? Gunn responds, the fans. Then another fan says, along these lines, do you think there's even a remote chance we ever see a big blockbuster crossover between the MCU and the DCEU? I've casually talked to the powers that be at both Marvel and DC about it. I would love for it to happen. I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's an impossibility either. That means it's a big possibility. That said, just constantly seeing crossovers and mashups is less enchanting to me than a strong story. So, he says this, I find it disconcerting at times that many folks seem more interested in crossovers, cameos, references, post-credit scenes, and they do the actual story and characters of a specific film. When making a film, I spend 99.9% of my time thinking about the story and character, 1% the rest. Now, Gunn makes a great point here. Kurt, Manchester United fan, Australia Glazers out. 5:32 p.m. here in Australia, brother. So Gunn makes a really, really good point here. But I couldn't help but respond to what he was saying, because although he finds it disconcerting that everyone's obsessed with Easter eggs, connections, cameos, crossovers, I make this point. But James, isn't it the MCU and Mr. Feige who have fed the consumer on the very thing you find disconcerting? I actually agree with you. And the entertainment media don't help either. I miss the simple days of a single film like Fields of Dreams, just a story, a very good story. James Gunn kindly responds to me. There's no shade from me to James Gunn or from the other way. This is not about taking down James Gunn. I've got a lot of respect for the man. I'm very honoured that he's making a DCEU movie, a franchise. I stand. So, I don't think Kevin or most filmmakers prioritize that stuff though. Post-credits are fun. I love them too. I just care a lot more about the center spine of the film, as we all do, as most of us do, although the MCU stands, James, care more about the post-credit scenes, the Easter eggs, the crossovers, because that was my point to you, that because Kevin Feige and the MCU culture has fed fans on this, I mean, let's think about the outrage towards WandaVision. A really good, unique Marvel Universe, Marvel Studios, MCU, Disney Plus show, in my opinion, from beginning, middle to end. It really worked for me. But why do people hate it? They hate it because it didn't have the crossovers, the cameos, the Easter eggs, and, that guy ended up being a boner instead of the character we know from Bryan Singer's X-Men universe. They were the issues. There was no nuance critically on the story and characters the show developed. And that was very sad. And this is a culture that the MCU has bought on itself. That was my point to James Gunn. Now, James denied this. Don't think Kevin or most filmmakers prioritize that stuff, though. It's the reason the MCU is so successful. These stands don't care about the story or the film. They only care about the inconsequentials, the Easter eggs, the cameos, the crossovers. And this is exactly what the DCEU are doing with the reboot, with the Flashpoint. Now, I'm excited about this, but in truth, why are we excited about Flashpoint? The Flash movie, is it Flash? Or is it the crossovers, the multiverse strategy, because we could see more crossovers and Easter eggs and links and setups? It's because of that, isn't it? We're not really excited about the Flash. And the Flash is an iconic character. And that's a shame, and this is where we're heading. Now, hopefully there will be some DCEU movies who do focus on films, but this is where we are now. Because the cameos, the crossovers, the links, the setups, the post-credits are actually very exciting to me. But I want the best of both worlds. I want great movies who also are doing this as well. What Kevin Feige's created is not a bad thing, but he's fed the fans on it through phase 1 to 3, and they want that to continue. And when it didn't happen in WandaVision, he had a very big problem. Because when you feed people on caviar and you say, here's some chips, mate, they're going to say, I don't want those chips. Give me the caviar. That's the problem. And that's my problem to James Gunn. Despite, I think he's being genuine. His Guardians movies are about the story and the films. And the portion of the Suicide Squad that I've seen is the same. But we know that there's post-credit scenes in the Suicide Squad. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. So that was just my point to James Gunn. And you can let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with him or do you agree with me? Right, Marvel fans attack a critic. Marvel fans attack a critic. Now, this is interesting because us over in the Zack Snyder DCEU fan zone are called toxic bullies. So, if I can remind you, yesterday I read an amazing takedown of the Black Widow movie by one critic. The rest literally were reading off a script. They were going, oh, it's amazing, best thing ever. Florence Pugh is amazing, and Scar is amazing. And I'm so angry that she didn't get her film earlier. I personally think she should have had an R-rated trilogy from the beginning. But they don't do R-rated, and they don't do depth, and they don't do nuance. Well, they do once or twice with Infinity War and Captain America, the Winter Soldier. That's really the only nuance we've had in the MCU. But we don't have a nuanced audience who stand the MCU anyway. We've just discussed what they want. So this guy literally tore Black Widow, the movie, to pieces, bit by bit by bit. Now, either he's just a toxic individual who wanted to be negative, or what's more frightening to me is this could be the one guy telling the truth about the movie. It's like he was literally reviewing the movie and not actually giving a quick reaction. They normally get access to give quick, positive reactions. And if they want to tear the movie down, they can do that in their reviews. That's what normally happens. And this is why I was shocked. But this guy couldn't wait. God knows what he's going to say in the review. But what this leads me to think that the reviews for Black Widow are not going to be very good. They're not going to be very good because if you think about what the Shield said, they said the family element, bring a tissue, it's emotional, and the action. They not once mentioned the villain or the plot or anything like that. And some people didn't like the third act. It's clear to me, behind these positive Shield reactions, that actually we are going to see a ferocious takedown of this movie. And I'll be very interested to see these reviews, and it'll be interesting how people in the public perceive this movie. This movie is too little, too late. I've heard what people have said about it. A few people have come into my DMs and told me the entire film. I asked them to. I wanted to know. I need to know. So I know what happens in the movie, and I will not spoil it for anyone. This is a movie that's out of context. It's a flashback movie, basically. As I said on yesterday's live stream, it's that moment where in that episode of your favourite TV series, there's been a lot of action. Next week in Superman Alive, for example, we go back to Clark's younger days in Smallville and when he first becomes Superman. It's a little filler before we get to the real core stuff of the Kryptonian versus the Kryptonian stuff, right? So they're taking a week out, basically. And that's what Black Widow is. They're taking a week out because they don't want to do it. Basically, this is what's weird about Black Widow. This was supposed to be the first movie in Phase 4 of the MCU. And because of the COVID pandemic, that changed. I do understand. This is a movie that introduces Florence Powell's Black Widow, the version of Black Widow that she's going to be and the character she's going to be. Basically, this is what it is. That one Black Widow's already dead. So they're literally, through this movie, using it. They said, oh, look, we're doing a female-led movie and we're giving you a brand new Black Widow. That's why it's a Phase 4 movie. Too little, too late. The truth is, Kevin Feige didn't believe in female-led movies. He didn't think they would do very well. So he didn't bother giving Scar her movie, the movie she deserved. This is a woman who did Lost in Translation, a critically acclaimed movie with Sofia Coppola, who directed the film, and the iconic, legendary Bill Murray. It's an amazing kind of quiet indie film. Really, really good. So we know this woman can act. They were right to cast her. But as one person said, they used her as a sexual object, right? I mean, I don't like these people, but they're true. It's true, right? And then they gave us some nuance. But I want you to do one thing for me. Go and read the Black Widow stuff in Marvel Comics, and you're going to see the nuance. The Red Rooms are compelling. Her backstory is compelling, and they touch it a little bit in this Black Widow movie, but not enough for me. They cheated this actor and this character through her nuanced backstory and origin. And all they had to do was give her one either after The Incredible Hulk or after Iron Man 2. It would have been perfect. This story is so compelling. Make it an R-rated trilogy. She would have been the most popular character in the MCU. But as I say, very rarely do Kevin Feige and the MCU do nuance. And that was my point to James Gunn. Now, of course, publicly, he's going to deny that. But he knows it's true. They all know it's true. I'm not saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. But when you're an MCU director, as James Gunn is, and you're saying, I don't understand, it's disconcerting why people are obsessed with Easter eggs and crossovers and post-credit scenes. Because you and Mr. Feige, not you necessarily, James, it's not your idea, it's not your brainchild, but you work as part of a franchise that has indoctrinated the audience and the consumer in doing this, and then you complain about it. That's what I find disconcerting, James. Again, not a takedown to James. I like James. His Suicide Squad movie is awesome, and I can't wait to see the full movie. But that is my whole point about that. Right, we go on to the updates. Let's go, 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 go. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Let's go. Let's not waste any time. Oh, come off it. Twitter's really messing up. Right, Pagey. I mean, if you want to follow Pagey on Twitter, by the way, and his YouTube, he's really great for Arrowverse News. He's amazing. And he's got some news about, I think it's next week's Flash episode. Current Manchester United fan, Australia glazes out. No news from Manchester United today, brother. There is no news whatsoever. But of course, this is a big day if you're an international football fan. It's England versus Scotland tonight I'm looking forward to it. Everyone's writing off Scotland. What could possibly go wrong, Kurt? Dubai. Do you go live every day, Mick? Yes, I do. So let me explain to you. So I do the Movies TV Mad Daily Live early in the morning, usually around, I'd say, UK time, because that's a good reference for everyone, wherever you are. So in the UK, it's probably about no later than 9 a.m. So I do the Movies TV Mad Daily Live every single day, which that consists of is reading articles, giving you entertainment updates. Then around 6:30 p.m. UK time live, and please check your local times, we do the Movies TV Mad live stream. Now, all that consists of basically is you commenting there and me responding to the comments. Now, if there's big news to respond to and there's opinions to give, I will certainly do that. So I go live twice a day. I'm trying to do at least one editorial pre-recorded video a day. So I'm sure I'll be talking about something there. So what it is, it's about giving the audience, I've got a very small audience, I realize that, but it's giving the audience that comes in the editorials, if they're interested in the editorials, because not everyone wants to come live, and that didn't come out well, did it? But to also give the live streams. I've only recently been doing the live streams for the past month or so. I didn't think I could do it. So I'm really enjoying the live streams and the interactions with the subscribers and just people coming in. It's really great, Dubai. Kurt, Manchester United fan, Australia glazes out. I did. Can Manchester United, Old Trafford, Heeds repair photo on Facebook today, bro? I haven't seen it. Very interesting. Heeds, or do you need needs repairs? Oh, there's a photo. Well, the owners have said they're going to take care of that, Kurt, so let's give them a chance to take care of it. So, this is some news from Pagey. As I say, follow Pagey. He's very good for Arrowverse. He's a big Arrowverse shill. I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner, but he really does love this stuff. Even Stephen Amell has commented on what a great fan he is before. Anyway, John Diggle arrives in Central City with a weapon to help Barry stop the Godspeed War. Meanwhile, Allegra and Ultraviolet's new bond is put to the ultimate test, while Joe and Kristen Kramer are hunted by a former colleague of hers. Very, very interesting. Is there any more? No. So that's interesting. So that's an update there for you. And we're going to go to an article about Jack Dylan Grazer and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Dubai, this is the first time I've ever caught you live, 3:45 a.m. here in New York, USA. Yes, I do apologize, Dubai. Unfortunately, because I'm in Cyprus, it's like 10 to 11 a.m. here in Cyprus. So I can only go with my timeline. I've kind of sat here trying to think of better times doing it for my UK audience and my American audience. Unfortunately, not only am I developing the first English-speaking dramas here on Super TV, so there's pitch meetings, there's Zooms I've got to do. I also look after my disabled father. So all I can do really is squeeze them in while I can. So it is very difficult. So I hope you can come in if you enjoy what I do. If you don't, I mean, sorry. But I can only be myself. But I'm glad you've come into the stream. And I realise it's really early in the morning, so you may not want to hang around. But don't forget, if you can't catch the streams, you can catch them afterwards on my YouTube anyway, can't you? You can just sit there in your own time, relax, a cup of coffee or whatever you do, so you don't have to come in live. And please, if you can, subscribe, click the little notifications bell. It really helps. The like really helps me as well. As you can see, I'm a very, very unsuccessful small YouTuber, and I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at Movies TV Mad 555 as well, if you want to help me out. I've only just started the Instagram one. I got rid of my old one. Because I'm really going for this entertainment news, reactions, opinions and things like that. So I'm really going for it now. No matter how little people are interested, I'm going to keep on talking and telling the world my opinions, whether they like it or not. Right, Shazam 2 star, hype sequels, unbelievable action scenes. Kurt, Manchester United fan, Australia glazes out. 5 likes now, bro. I can retire. No, that's good. Thank you, everyone, for liking. Star Jack Dylan Grazer hypes up the unbelievable action scenes of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, as well as the amazing returning cast of the film by Nicholas Graff of Screen Rant. One of the stars of Shazam's Fury of the Gods has begun hyping up the action scenes for the upcoming sequel. Shazam was one of the few recent hits for Warner Brothers with their DC content, especially after disappointing reactions to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Don't forget, this film was 6 years ago, and they're still talking about it. Especially after disappointing reactions to Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice and the theatrical cut of Justice League. And with Black Adam right around the corner, a lot is riding on the Shazam franchise's ability to maintain its quality as it moves forward. The first Shazam was released in 2019 with Zachary Levi starring as the titular hero in his heroic form and Asher Angel as his adolescent persona, Billy Batson. The film did well with critics and audiences, with many enjoying the lighter tone and lack of seriousness. But actually, the film did have seriousness. The film actually had lighter tone, it had comedy, and it had seriousness, and it had scares as well. So it wasn't just a light comedy. Thank you very much, Screen Rant. Especially after the dark and monotone Zack Snyder films in the DCEU. Much praise went to director David F. Sandberg, quite right too. I love Davey, as well as the performances from Levi and Young. Actor Jack Dylan Grazer. Jack was amazing. One of my favourite things. He's me in this film. I'm such a Superman fan, as he is, and a superhero fan. And it was just so great to have a little kid standing this. And all he wants to do, I'm getting quite emotional now, all he wants to do is meet Superman. And as sad as it was that Cavill wasn't able to do that, to see the look on his face when Superman and Shazam turn up, it's fucking beautiful. I won't hear a word against that film. Dubai, no worries, no need to apologise. I'm a night owl during the week. I work, but soon I'll have more time. P.S. Your audience is bigger than some of ours, mine included. You're an inspiration and an aspirational. Thank you very much, Dubai. It's very good to inspire. Let me say that again. It's awesome to know that I can inspire one or two people. But don't worry. You said that more people watch me than you. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. The best thing to do is not do what I do or do what anyone else does. Be you. And when you are you, you will be successful. And I may never hit 1,000 subscribers. It's not about that. It's just about looking at the camera and talking to a few people and telling them what you think. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. You never know. No, I mean, some people get instantaneous success, success straight away with their content. Some people have to wait years and it will never happen. Not everyone can be successful. So basically, I'm not successful, but I'm very happy to come in. It excites me in the morning to get up and do this. So it's great. So thank you for those compliments. They're very much appreciated. As well as the performances from Levi and Young, actor Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Shazam's friend Freddy in the movie. Grazer recently hyped up the unbelievable action scenes of Shazam: Fury of the Gods during an interview with the Indian Express. The Indian Express, wow! While speaking about reprising his role and enjoying all the returning cast members in the sequel, he spoke about the action scenes in the movie being particularly special. Read his full thoughts below. I am super excited. I'm shooting it right now in Atlanta. It's going great. It's so much fun. And it's so amazing with the original cast. They're just the greatest people ever. Such a fun story, and it's funny as heck. The action is unbelievable. This time we've got Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, and Rachel Ziegler, who's in the new West Side Story. I am working with a lot of great, talented people. You certainly are, Jack, and good for you. Grazer was out promoting his most current film, Pixar's Luca. Looking forward to that. When the interview was done, in Luca, Grazer voices a sea monster named Alberto Scofono, who, along with his best friend, disguise themselves as humans so they can meet the denizens of a coastal Italian town. Grazer is best known for his work in both Shazam and the most recent adaptation of Stephen King's It. The original Shazam was no slouch when it came to action set pieces, but it is exciting to hear about even better fight scenes in Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Between this and the news about the costumes having been upgraded and looking vastly better than the original, not according to my nephew, this sequel has gotten off to an excellent start, and with the director and the original cast returning, including Levi, Angel, and Grazer, all the pieces are there for a great follow-up to the original film, and I couldn't agree more. It's very, very exciting to have all these DCEU films, continuing and getting this big slate and knowing there's a multiverse strategy and Keaton returning and potentially, fingers crossed, Nicolas Cage's Superman. That guy was robbed. Tim Burton was robbed, man. And if this happens, I want Tim Burton and Nicolas Cage to finally do this film. I don't care that Nick's 60 or whatever he is, right? You know, age is all in the mind, right? We need to do this. If we're going to do a multiverse strategy, let's go in for it and let's have some fun. James Gunn confirms Suicide Squad 2 will have post-credit scenes. Of course, we have discussed this before, but this is a new article, and it's always great to discuss the next film from the DCEU as well. And as I said, let's be clear, I love post-credit scenes, I love cameos and Easter eggs, but I also want to see great movies, which the Suicide Squad is, by the way. The Suicide Squad writer-director James Gunn confirms that the upcoming DC Extended Universe standalone sequel will include post-credits by Grant Howermans of Screen Rant. Sorry about that. The Suicide Squad writer-director James Gunn confirms that the upcoming DC Extended Universe standalone sequel will include post-credit scenes. Though the film was a critical disappointment, the large box office returns of David Ayer's predecessor sparked Warner Brothers' interest in continuing the franchise, including the well-received Margot Robbie-led Birds of Prey spin-off. Well, they can't say great box office, so that's the little thing they found. Let's just read that again because it's funny. Including the well-received Margot Robbie-led Birds of Prey spin-off. After years of the project exchanging writing and directorial hands, it was Disney's dismissal of Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that finally saw the Suicide Squad sequel find its guide. Everyone again, thank Disney for sacking James Gunn for a millisecond. And did Walter Hamada pounce, or did he pounce? And that is what a good DC film president should be doing, taking every opportunity to upscale this franchise. Gunn may have been reinstated by Disney for the third installment in his Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise, but Marvel head Kevin Feige saw the error in the studio's way and gave Gunn the opportunity to take the time needed to make the Suicide Squad before returning to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. With the pandemic resulting in production delays and stars signing on to other projects, Gunn took the opportunity to expand his DC resume with HBO Max's Peacemaker series, centered on John Cena's character from the film. Even with all these irons in the fire, Gunn frequently makes the time to respond to some fan questions on social media, and he's back at it again. As he's known to do, Gunn took some time on Twitter to answer the burning questions on the minds of his followers for the upcoming DCEU film. In addition to discussing the runtime, Gunn was asked whether the film would include any post-credit sequences, as comic book films are known to have at this point. And Gunn confirmed it will see what Gunn had to say below. So at first he gets the questions. Hi James, may I ask about the runtime of 2 hours? Was it that your idea of Warner Media? We read this out yesterday, but we'll do it again. I wrote, filmed and edited the best movie I could, and it ended up at this length. No one ever planned for it to be this long. Hey James, the most important question ever. Does the Suicide Squad have post-credit scenes? I hope this isn't the most important question, as I think the movie itself is what matters most. But yes, wow. Yeah, he's getting a bit triggered by people going on and on about Easter eggs and post-credits, as we discussed on the top of the show. But listen, this is what people love. Sometimes, listen, I won't criticize Gunn for getting pissed off with it. I understand where he's coming from, but still, you know, people love it. It's important to people. What's important to the consumer and what's important to you as a creative are two very different things. And you've got to, you've got to have a bit of humanity, right? The comic book world has grown accustomed to post-credit scenes, practically demanding it after 2008's Iron Man made it a common practice within the MCU and every subsequent franchise. Gunn had previously teased that the film would have more than one post-credit scene, which makes his new confirmation not too much of a surprise, but a happy but of news nonetheless. Looking back at Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, his post-credit scenes are always full of hilarity, fan service, and intriguing setups of what's to come for both the series and the larger franchise. With the future of Harley Quinn in the DCEU still unconfirmed at the time of writing, it certainly begs the question of what Gunn is bringing to the table with the Suicide Squad's post-credit scenes. Given the mayhem set to ensure and the multiple character deaths promised by Gunn, anything is possible. For the sequel, with just over a month to go until the film's arrival, all questions will be answered soon enough. Very, very interesting. and I can't wait to see the full version of this movie. It's so exciting. I was feeling excited while I was reading that. You know, DC means the world to me, it really does, and I'm just glad that we still got a DC Extended Universe and it's going this way as well. How Ragnarok director and stars improvise Thor and Loki's Get Help scene. Ronnie Dodge, morning, mate. Good morning, Ronnie. How are you this morning? Ronnie Dodge, what have I missed? Ah, you've missed quite a lot, my friend. I'll tell you what you missed because I write a list of what I was going to talk about before I got into the entertainment updates. I spoke about the Snyder Batcat gate. I discussed that. I also talked about movies versus selling toys. I also talked about James Gunn responding to my comment about the culture of the MCU. So I spoke about that as well. Marvel Films attacks critics. Yes, that critic who tore apart Black Widow is getting attacked and bullied. I spoke about that as well. And I also spoke about DC MCU crossovers for the future. So if you wanna check out the beginning of my video when this is finished, you can certainly do that. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Well, you've subscribed already, haven't you? But that's what we've touched on already, Ronnie. So it's been a great stream so far for the Movies TV Mad Daily Live. But we continue with this article. Ronnie Dodge, achy arm is gone apart from a little headache. I never got headaches, actually, so I'm just lucky, I guess. I am very lucky. I'm a lucky person, by the way. Hopefully a couple of paracetamol and that'll be gone. Tom Hiddleston reveals the process behind the improvisation with Chris Hemsworth during the Thor Ragnarok's Get Help scene. The third installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise saw the God of Thunder forced to face off against his recently released sister, Hela, and escape the alien planet of Sakaar before she destroys Asgard. Hemsworth led the cast with Hiddleston, Kate Blanchett, Tessa Thompson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeff Goldblum, Watiti, Watiti. I mean, you know he's got another name, right? Carl Urban and Idris Elba. Unlike its immediate predecessor, The Dark World, even its 2011 inaugural outing, Ragnarok scored rave reviews from critics and audiences alike for its performances, humour, action sequences, and Watiti's direction. The critical and commercial success landed Watiti the opportunity to return to co-write and direct the full Thor film, Love and Thunder, which recently wrapped production in Australia, having the What We Do in the Shadows co-helmet in the director's chair certainly helped this comedic shift, and Hiddleston is offering new details from behind the scenes of Ragnarok. Wait a minute. Doesn't Taika Waititi direct this film? Or did he co-direct it? I don't get, I'm confused. Anyway. With the characters returning his own Disney Plus series, Hiddleston spoke with IMDb to discuss Loki's most iconic moments in the MCU. Upon arriving at Ragnarok's Get Help sequence, the star revealed how the sequence was improvised and how he, Hemsworth, and Waititi put it all together. See what Hiddleston had to say below. Ronnie Dodge, I saw Zach's comments. Does he hate DC Comics now? Probably. Ronnie Dodge, about the Catwoman and Batman. Yeah. That's what it's all about. You can check it out in my video when we finish here. Of course, it all came from Taika Waititi's brilliant and inventive imagination. Taika came in the morning and said, it would be really fun if you came into the room and pretended it was a game you used to play as kids. As we worked it out, it was something completely improvised. It gives you such an insight into the way Taika works. Nearly 4 years later, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that the sequence was improvised by the stars, but it's interesting to hear a bit of insight into just how it came about. Waititi has previously stated that approximately 80% of the movie's dialogue was improvised by the cast and crew, with all of them expressing in various interviews the collaborative atmosphere that this brought to the Ragnarok set. To hear this collaboration extended to outright creating one of the most iconic sequences in the Thor franchise, it's certainly a testament to the improv talent of both Waititi and stars Hemsworth and Hiddleston. If you're a trained actor, you know, I say this, you've really got to be an improviser. I was improvising before I went to RADA, genuinely. That's one of the things I do. I can literally stand here now and do a monologue for about 5 minutes, just thinking up the stuff now. That's what I can do. Now, it's not everyone's strength, it's true, but it's always been something I've enjoyed doing. I enjoy that rather than learning a script. That would be much more fun to me. But recalling the Thor Ragnarok moment is bittersweet, given Hiddleston has confirmed that Loki will not be returning for Love and Thunder. Ah, right. That being said, with the God of Mischief currently leading his own series at Disney, Hiddleston's wisecracking character won't be going away anytime soon. Now that production is complete on the next Thor installment, it's now time for Disney and Marvel to start rolling out the teasers leading up to its May 2022 release. That's a bit of a time, isn't it? But something to look forward to. It's an interesting movie. This could go one way or the other with what they're doing, but it's certainly interesting. But I love the stuff about the improvisation. That's why I decided to read it to you guys. Right, let's give you a Star Wars update from Lucasfilm. Star Wars Visions Anime Expo panel set to show a sneak peek. Lucasfilm has announced that their animated short film anthology series Star Wars Visions will be getting its first look during Anime Expo Light by Brendan Kim of Screen Rant. Lucasfilm has announced that the first look at Star Wars Visions, an anthology of anime short films taking place in Star Wars universe, will be revealed in July at Anime Expo Light. Star Wars Visions will be joining an impressive roster of animated content from Lucasfilm, coming off the heels of their latest series, Star Wars The Bad Batch, which debuted on Disney Plus last month. However, unlike previous Star Wars animated series like Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, which have been developed and produced in-house at Lucasfilm, Star Wars Visions will be a collaborative effort between Lucasfilm and various Japan-based anime studios. This is very ambitious by Disney, by the way, and Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm has revealed that the first look at Star Wars Visions will be shown during a stream panel at Anime Expo Light. The stream will be 30 minutes long and will be held in July, on July the 3rd at 3 p.m. PST. Check out the excerpt below for the full list of guests. Join the host, Chastity Vicencio, and Lucasfilm executive producers Jackie Lopez, James Waugh, Josh Rohns, Quebec Pictures, and co-executive producer Justin Leach, and producer Kanoko Shiraskari. Let's say that again, Shiraski, for an inside look at Star Wars Vision before the series debuts on Disney Plus later this year. JDT SB, I'm still waiting for them to remove the last trilogy from canon. I think you're going to have a bit of a long wait there, but we'll see. It looks like they're just hoping everyone can forget about it. There are rumors of kind of a canon reboot, like they're doing with the DCEU and Flashpoint. But look, anything's possible. But I think personally they're just going to move forward. We've got a Taika Waititi trilogy, potentially a Rian Johnson trilogy. I know that's something that some fans won't be excited about. It's what he should have been given instead of doing the middle film in somebody else's trilogy in the first place, and we wouldn't be here now. But yeah, I don't expect them to reboot or take anything out of canon. Bobo boy, that's not how multiverse works. Bobo, WB, everything is canon now except Zack Snyder's Justice League. Well, actually, you don't know that, do you? We will know what's canon and what's not after reboot. So, in fact, that is how a multiverse works. JDTSB, do you think the Lucas is really coming back? Do I think George Lucas is coming back? Well, as I say to everyone about every subject, you should never say never ever in this industry because it makes you look stupid. It made everyone look stupid when J.J. Abrams denied he was doing The Force Awakens, and then guess what he did? He announced he was doing The Force Awakens when he said he wasn't doing The Force Awakens. Anything's possible. I think it's very highly unlikely. But as I say, wouldn't it be amazing to have the father, the dad of Star Wars, return? It's something I would absolutely love. Ronnie Dodge, Zack Snyder's Justice League is an Elseworld movie, not canon. Fact. That's a very, very good point, Ronnie Dodge. Thank you for that. It will be exciting to see just how far this project will deviate from the typical Star Wars animation formula. The last time Lucasfilm collaborated with an acclaimed third-party animator was in 2003 with Genndy Tartakovsky, creator of Samurai Jack, and resulted in a fan favorite 2D micro series Star Wars Clone Wars, not to be confused with the 3D animated Star Wars The Clone Wars that debuted in 2008. Critics praised Tarkovsky's series for breaking the Star Wars mold with its lack of dialogue and its fast-paced, heavily stylized animation. Hopefully, Star Wars Visions will similarly forget its own path into this uncharted territory of Star Wars anime. As I say, this is quite ambitious, and I'm quite looking forward to see what they do. So that's interesting. Ronnie Dodge, the multiverse is going to be amazing for the DCEU. It needs doing. Both parties couldn't agree on a direction. Zack Snyder's gone, and they need to appeal to a broader audience. It's as simple as that. It's not just about what one set of people want. As much as I like Zack and his DC universe, DC should be for everyone. And I think if you don't agree with that, then maybe you're being slightly, and I don't want to be disrespectful, a little bit selfish here. Right. Stan Lee regretted replacing Gwen Stacy with Mary Jane. Stan Lee revealed he never wanted Spider-Man and Mary Jane to end up together as a couple. His true love was always meant to be Gwen Stacy. Very interesting, because the MCU is basically MJ, but Raimi's is MJ. But what a great MJ we have. She's awesome, and she'll never be better. Kirsten Dunst is the best MJ. Let's not even debate it. Talk to the wall, right? This is by Joshua Isaac of Screen Rant. Spider-Man and Mary Jane Watson are a classic comics couple, but Stan Lee always intended for Peter Parker to end up with his one true love, Gwen Stacy. While long-term plans changing in the comics is nothing new, the idea that Stan Lee never imagined Peter and MJ as a couple might come as a shock to fans of both characters who have seen their ups and downs throughout the decades. Well, it's a bit like Lana Lang, really, isn't it? And Lois Lane. Lana Lang really is MJ. Lana Lang isn't supposed to be with Clark forever, it's for a short time. And Lois Lane is Gwen Stacy. That's his one true love. So I think that's an interesting analogy for you all. The idea that Stan Lee never imagined Peter and MJ as a couple might come as a shock to fans of both characters who've seen their ups and downs throughout the decades. The changing love interest can be attributed to different writers, the changing society of the 60s, and the eventual bowing to peer pressure from the many Marvel Comics readers and fans of Spider-Man. The shippers. There was even shippers in the 60s. JDTSB, best moment from Star Wars to date was Luke's appearance in The Mandalorian. Well, if you're talking about Disney Star Wars, maybe that's debatable still, but definitely Disney Star Wars, but not from Star Wars all the way. There's been much better stuff in the Lucas era. Gwendolyn Stacy, in my opinion, by the way, Gwendolyn Stacy's first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man 31, published in 1965, in a story called If This Be My Destiny. In it, Peter was introduced to Gwen in college. She took a liking to him immediately, but her advances fell on deaf ears. Peter constantly gave Gwen and everyone else the cold shoulder. Aunt May was quite ill, and Peter's mental health was in serious jeopardy, which led him to becoming erratic, irritable, and aloof. Stan Lee clearly intended the two characters to have a rocky beginning before becoming the friends and eventually more a classic start to a comics-based relationship, isn't it just? Conversely, Mary Jane was introduced as a joke, as a running gag. Aunt May would constantly attempt to set up Peter with Mary Jane, who lived next door. Peter and readers assumed that anyone with Aunt May's seal of approval must be a boring, plain behind the times character. But the now famous panel from the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 42 in 1966 showed Peter's shock when Mary Jane first revealed her face. Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. She says. Stan Lee didn't know it yet, but this moment was the beginning of the end for Peter and Gwen. In Stan Lee's original plan, Mary Jane was to serve as the other woman whom Peter would date for some time before realizing Gwen Stacy was the person with whom he wanted to spend the rest of his life with, aka Lana Lang. To facilitate the storyline, MJ was made of a vivacious, trendy mod girl who stood in direct contrast to Gwen Stacy. To a certain extent, the plan worked. Peter dated Mary Jane. The two eventually broke up after, again, complications with being Spider-Man got in the way of Peter's love life, and he began a relationship with Gwen Stacy. But despite the plans Lee had mapped out, fans still wanted more Mary Jane. The very character traits that made her interesting to Peter also made her interesting to the readers. Yeah, you were a bit careless there, Stan. You made her too interesting. While the death of Gwen Stacy was written with the intention of bringing Peter and MJ back together, it was written because Gwen made Peter content and writers loathe a content Spider-Man. It did eventually lead to their relationship rekindling after some time had passed. It must be noted that at the time of the story's publication, Lee had stepped back from actively writing Amazing Spider-Man books and had passed on the job to Jerry Conway. It was his decision to kill Gwen Stacy, something that Lee never intended. Conway killed Gwen Stacy. I didn't want to kill her. A few issues earlier, I had killed Gwen Stacy's father, and it looked like we had some sort of hatred for the Stacys, like we were out to destroy them, which of course was not the case, Lee said of the decision. For his part, Conway despised Gwen Stacy, saying Gwen Stacy was a no entity, a pretty face. She brought nothing to the mix. It made no sense to me that Peter Parker would end up with a babe like that who had no problems. Only a damaged person would end up with a damaged guy like Peter Parker. Perhaps Conway is right. Perhaps Mary Jane's troubled past and Spider-Man's terrible mistakes mean the two are perfect for each other. Or perhaps Lee had more stories in his head for Peter and Gwen that would have moved both characters forward in their lives. Unfortunately, fans will never know. This is very, very interesting for me, and I'll tell you why. Because you see how passionate, how we argue about these characters, both in DC and Marvel. Even the creatives were arguing about this. I think Conway was absolutely spot on. MJ is a more complicated working class character, and I prefer her as well. I don't like the one in the MCU. She doesn't work at all. The writing's not great for her. There's no nuance. There's no background. Kirsten Dunst's one was a complicated one. Her father was a drunk. You could see he was a drunk. You could see how the struggles of that character were. And that's why it really worked for me. The MCU version just simply doesn't work, and that's just my opinion. I'm suddenly interested in Luke Wilson because I saw him in the pilot of Stargirl. Luke Wilson says he would return for Legally Blonde 3. Luke Wilson is hopeful he will be able to return as Emmett Richards' husband of Reese Witherspoon's Elle Woods in the film sequel Legally Blonde 3 by Lucille Barilla of Screen Rant. Luke Wilson revealed that he would return for Legally Blonde 3 if his co-star and on-screen wife, Reese Witherspoon. I didn't know Luke and Reese were together. That means I have to like Reese now as well. Wow, I didn't know that. Witherspoon asked him to. The popular film franchise has been greenlit for yet another sequel, which will further explore the story of Ellie Woods, her friends, and the relationships that have been the basis for the beloved film series' its 2001 debut. The movie was also the basis for a popular Broadway musical that made its debut in 2007 and continues to tour in theatres around the United States. Legally Blonde centered on Ellie Woods' enrollment in Harvard Law School as she tried to win her boyfriend back after a breakup. In the 2003 sequel, Woods headed to Washington, D.C. to fight for animal rights and fell hard for lawyer Emmett Richmond Wilson in the second installment. Wilson was also a teacher's assistant for Professor Callahan at Harvard Law. Legally Blonde 3 will have a script penned by the Office star Mindy Kaling. Wow. And its return was announced by Witherspoon via an Instagram post on June 2018, where she was seen floating on a pool lounge and wearing the character's iconic pink bikini. Wilson responded to questions about reprising his Legally Blonde 2 role while on a promotional tour for his new film, 12 Mighty Orphans. He told People magazine he would be up for revisiting the character of Emmett and his part in the franchise if Witherspoon asked him to return to the cast. Although the actor couldn't give any definitive confirmation about his participation in the project, he certainly seemed excited about the idea. Yeah, I'm always up to work with Reese again. We'll just have to see what happens. I'll watch it when I see it on cable, and it's on cable a lot. But just because Reese is always so funny in the movie, to me, someone really wants to get some tonight, don't they? So I always watch a few things just because I like her portrayal of Ellie Woods so much. Wow, all right, mate, all right. I'm sure you'll get some tonight. In Legally Blonde 2, Emma bonded with Ellie over her skills as an attorney and looked past her pink Barbie doll exterior to see the kind, dedicated advocate she had become for the voiceless. Together they fought to outlaw animal testing and rose about their differences to wed in a pink-themed ceremony. Their future ended on an uncertain note after Emmett asked his new wife where she wanted to live, Boston, New York City, or Washington, D.C. She did not answer as she looked toward the White House. This plot point could be expanded in Legally Blonde 3 if the writers decide to go that route. The future of Legally Blonde 3 remains uncertain, but recent reports have the newest film set for a 2022 release. Wilson's participation in the movie, which was scheduled to begin filming in 2020, remains uncertain. Fans are hopeful the actor will rejoin the circle of Witherspoon's on-camera relationship and provide the necessary foil for the beloved heroine. Hopefully, Wilson does end up returning for the sequel, as Legally Blonde 3 will certainly benefit from his addition. If he doesn't return, however, the movie will have to find a way to write the character out, since Emma and Ellie were together the last time fans saw them. It would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous if not Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson wasn't a part of this. He's such a charming actor. Both him and his brother are so brilliant. I love them to bits. So it would be absolutely tragic for me if he wasn't involved, and I think he will. JDTSB, articles on Spider-Man. Is Marvel starting promotion already? Nope. And there's no trailer, not next week. It's a big week for trailers next week, JDTSB. Big week for trailers, but not for Spider-Man No Way Home. JDTSB, Legally Blonde is a bit dated, but still fun. Hope they don't ruin it. Do you know what? The dated films, the older films, are the ones I watch. You know, what's going on today is really kind of depressing. It can mess with your mental health. There's a lot of political conversations around films, and it's, you know, but these older films are just pure and they're about entertainment, and that's why I love them. So, yeah, as you say, great movie, and let's hope they don't ruin it. They'll probably make a president or something, and they'll say how good it is that a woman's president, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't mind a female president. We had one in 24. Wasn't she great? No, she wasn't great. She nearly got Jack Bauer killed. But anyway, it would be great to have a female president. And if they're going to do this, let's do it in a compassionate, good way instead of triggering everyone, saying men are horrible and start going on about Trump again. He's not president anymore. Get over it. Right, we continue with your entertainment update on Friday, whatever the date is. Doctor Strange 2 is scarier since Sam Raimi replaced original director. Oh my God. This is such a slaying of the original director who wanted to go down a scarier route. Feige and the MCU and Marvel Studios really want to ring that home, that they're not dumbing this film down. Doctor Strange 2 is scarier since Sam Raimi replaced original director. Loki and Doctor Strange 2's head writer, Michael Waldron, says the Benedict Cumberbatch-led sequel will be scarier because of Sam Raimi's involvement. By Adam Benz. I mean, he comes from horror, Sam, so it's not a surprise, is it? Doctor Strange 2 will be scarier because Sam Raimi replaced the original director, Scott Derrickson. This is a bit toxic, though, isn't it? According to Michael Waldron, it's been 5 years since Doctor Strange's first solo outing in 2016, and Benedict Cumberbatch will be returning to his role as the Sorcerer Supreme in the 2022 sequel, officially titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The long layoffs between films is, of course, due to the coronavirus pandemic, along with a few other speed bumps that slowed down development. Yeah, like sacking the director. Scott Derrickson, who wrote and directed the first film, was set to return for the sequel, but left the project early due to creative differences. Marvel then brought the Spider-Man trilogy director and horror aficionado Sam Raimi on board to go along with Michael Waldron as head writer, who now serves the same role on Loki. Along with the return of its titular surgeon turned sorcerer, Doctor Strange 2 will catch up with Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch after the events of WandaVision, though it is currently unclear how she will tie into the sequel's plot, probably as a villain. Now, during an appearance on the Friends from Work podcast, Loki and Doctor Strange 2 head writer Michael Waldron is opening up about the experience of crafting the sequel along with Sam Raimi. Waldron admits that the first Doctor Strange wasn't a horror movie, but it did have a certain spookiness throughout it, which he wanted to build on for the sequel, especially since he was working with such a prolific horror director in Raimi. With the additional time afforded to them due to the pandemic-related delays, Waldron and his co-writer Jay Bartlett were able to nudge the sequel in a slightly scarier direction. Read Waldron's full quote from the podcast below. So when we came onto this one, I felt so fortunate with the work he'd done on the first one, the work he had, and let's start again. I'm getting my words minced up. So when we came onto this one, I felt so fortunate the work he'd done on the first one, the work that he and the previous writer on the second one, Jay Bartlett, they'd done some work on the second one. And it's like you just dive in. In this case, COVID just gave me and Sam more time to make it our own thing. It's cool. I'm glad that there was the chance to maybe push it a slightly scarier direction, just because Sam does that so well. But how scary is this going to be in the MCU? That's the question, isn't it? JDTSB, I don't believe that about Doctor Strange. The original director wanted to make it darker, but when asked, Feige said it will be PG-13 and the fans will like it. Yeah, well, that's Feige all over. He's a businessman. It's their job not to drive away the broader audience. This is what the divide was between Snyder and WB, and it's always going to be so. Now they're pushing the propaganda that this is slightly scarier. What does that mean? What does that mean? Slightly, an inch scarier? This is still going to be a PG-13 movie. How scary can it be? But there you go. I mean, let's be honest. Shazam was aimed at kids and families, but that was scary at times. It could potentially be scarier than this film. But we'll have to wait and see, JDTSB. But I do agree with you not believing all of this, and I don't either. Previously, Waldron said he and Raimi had to start completely from scratch when they took over the project from Derrickson. This implies that Doctor Strange 2 will be entirely their own work, though Waldron did admit they built off the slightly spooky foundation that Derrickson laid in this first film, such as Chitwell Ofoyo's Mordo, who will return for the sequel. It remains to be seen what scarier direction the sequel will take, but it will likely play out across the multiverse. As indicated by the title, the direction of Phase 4 seems to be taking thus far. The film's purported villain, Shama Gorath, a monstrous interdimensional entity, certainly seems in line with the spookiness that Waldron is describing. Once the marketing campaign The Doctor Strange 2 kicks off, its slightly spookier angle will certainly become more apparent. Yep. And as JDTSB said, this is utter bullshit. And this is actually so disrespectful to Scott Derrickson, who really wanted to do something scary and intense. But this is Hollywood. This is what they do. They know the conversations are still out there that Scott's movie would have been better. And we better be careful here, because if this movie is no good, and I mean, Sam Raimi's a genius, so you'd expect it to be good, there's going to be hell to pay for getting rid of Scott Derrickson. JDTSB, no Marvel movie is from scratch. So much baggage from previous movies. Yeah, I don't think that's what they're alluding to. They're saying they started again within the movie. In other words, they're not using anything of what Derrickson was doing, because Derrickson was going down a really dark tunnel, and they didn't want to do that. This is the divide you get with studios and creatives all the time, because they are creating this, PG-13 franchise, and they don't want to drive anyone from away from it. It's so easy for them. It's an MCU film. Everyone comes to watch it. It's an MCU Disney Plus show. Everyone comes to see it. So they were a bit worried with what Derrickson wanted to do. And there you go. Who's right? Who's wrong? Nobody. Basically, if these people learn to compromise with each other a bit, these problems wouldn't rise. Let's talk about everyone's favourite DC female. Amber Heard shares Aquaman 2 workout video. How did I miss this? I love watching Amber working out. With Aquaman 2 set to begin filming next month, star Amber Heard pushes forward with her training and shares a new video of the workout by Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. I thought it'd be fun to read this. Amber Heard's Aquaman 2 prep continues as she shares a video of her latest workout. Heard will return for her third DCEU outing in Aquaman 2, where she will once again play Princess Mira as Arthur Curry's Jason Momoa ally love interest. Heard first joined the franchise in Justice League before receiving a much larger role in 2018's Aquaman. The James Wan directed film was a box office smash when it arrived, and a sequel was put into development not long after. Despite that, though, Aquaman 2 will debut 4 years after its predecessor. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because basically it's the Snyder thing in the room. It's the elephant in the room. They were developing things. They had to go forward, and there was other ideas, and this is why it's taken so long. But it doesn't matter. If this film needed 4 years, this film needed 4 years. I'm absolutely fine with it. Plot specifics for Aquaman 2 are still being kept under wraps, though. One recently revealed the movie's full title, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which I love. It's a great title. Momoa and Heard are both set to return for the film, along with Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Black Manta, and Patrick Wilson as all. So far, the only newcomer confirmed to appear in Aquaman 2 is Pilu Ashbeck, Game of Thrones, who joined the cast in April with an unnamed role. The past few months have seen the film's main stars start their training ahead of production commencing. Earlier this week, Heard shared a short video of her training regime, which involves weights, lunges, absolutely dying. Heard wrote in the caption, which also confirmed this is for Aquaman 2. This is the latest training glimpse the actress has shared, having kicked things off back in April. You can see her post down below. I'm not going to put the video on. I was gonna for a laugh, but yeah, I'll watch it later when I'm on my own, right? Oh dear. Even beyond training, Heard has shared several looks for her Aquaman 2 prep earlier this year. Rumours swirled suggesting Warner Brothers had fired Heard amid legal issues with ex-husband Johnny Depp. However, those were later debunked, and the actress has remained a key part of the Aquaman 2 cast, as her various social media posts have shown. She's very excited to play Mera once more and is taking her training seriously, though it's been several years since the first Aquaman, Heard stepped back into the role last year for Zack Snyder's Justice League reshoot. So Mera must still be fresh in her mind. Last month, Momoa confirmed filming on Aquaman 2 will kick off in July, so Heard's hard work is nearing its payoff. Now that the title has been revealed and production is inching closer, more details about Aquaman 2 could be revealed in the upcoming months. There will be another DC fandom event this summer, it's not this summer actually, it's October, which would be a prime spot to unveil things like new castings, early plot details. For now, though, fans can comfort themselves with the knowledge that Aquaman 2 is about ready to begin, and its cast is very ready to get started. JDTSB, if I can get a part in these movies, it will be worth it, just for the physical training. Well, you could always go down the gym yourself, save you a lot of trouble, wouldn't it? Ronnie Dodge, Yaha is in London. Yes, I bet he is. But he will be filming Aquaman wherever that is. I don't know if it's in London or America, but if it's not in London, he'll be getting on that plane and be going back to film Aquaman wherever he is. So, yeah. Now, what's interesting about Amber Heard, just because she hasn't been fired yet, just because she's in this movie, doesn't mean her character won't be killed off in Aquaman 2. Think about that. That could happen. So that could be where she's fired. Now, think about this. They probably want to create a connective, logical way of getting rid of her. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, so don't get your hopes up, people who hate her. I want her to stay. I'm happy for her to stay. I like her. I've had great conversations with her before. I don't have a problem with her. Her marriage and what she did or didn't do to Depp is irrelevant to me. I don't care. That's his problem. He married a young, beautiful woman who was ambitious and was hungry for power and success. You've got to be careful when you're Johnny Depp. He played a game. He lost. Time to move on, Johnny. And if you moved on earlier, you'd still have a career. Ronnie George, they're filming Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in Manchester, apparently. Oh, well, he's near there, so he's in the right place. So that's awesome news, Ronnie. Anthony Mackie rejects idea of Sam and Bucky's relationship being romantic. Isn't it interesting? When it suits them, they're all for the compassion and kindness and identity politics. When it doesn't suit alpha male Anthony Mackie, and nothing, I'm not slaying alpha males. I'm an alpha male, as you can see. But it's just funny how they change their ways very quickly. Anthony Mackie says, in a podcast, the duo love each other as friends, a denial of fanfare which Winter Soldier actor Sebastian Stan has supported. By Maxine Vinograd, of Screen Rant. That was a mouthful. Sorry, it's your name. I can't read it. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier star Anthony Mackie insists Sam and Bucky are just friends, as the relationship between Sam Wilson, the Falcon, Captain America, and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, made a switch from over-the-top opponents to rock-bottom comrades over the course of the films, and series fans speculated a romance had cruised its way in. While the couple wouldn't technically be the first LBGT representation in the MCU, Mackie is denying that Sam and Bucky's Gold Star allegiance is any way romantic. Ronnie Dodger, I actually love that critic had the guts to hate on Black Widow, and Marvel fans are looking their crap, and they know how we feel as DC fans. Yes, that's what I said. What's staggering about this one guy's hate for this movie and his very articulate takedown of the movie was that either he's being an arse, right, and everyone else is right and he's wrong and the film's great, or he's the only one being honest with us and the MCU fans and stands. What does that say about entertainment journalism? It means it's corrupt if only one person is willing to stand up and speak the truth about a movie. What does that say? Don't trust them. That's what it says. The MCU series comes 6 months after the events of Avengers Endgame, where Wilson has refused to accept the title of the new Captain America despite receiving it from the former Captain Steve Rogers. Well, he refuses to accept it so we can do the virtue signaling at the end when he does, and he can make a speech telling us how racist we all are. Barnes has been undergoing therapy to undo his Russian governmental brainwashing as new threats come into play, such as the reactionary flag smashers who preferred the time following Thanos' genocidal blip. Basically, this journalist doesn't want to explain to you what the flag smashers are. The flag smashers preferred the time during the blip. You know why? Because all countries were helping each other and uniting, and there was no divisiveness. There was no anger between, communities and cultures. Everyone was in it together. And basically after the blip, when everyone was back to normal and everything changed back to norm. And they hated that. So this is why they fought. They wanted it back the way it was. I believe their cause was a just cause, but the way they went about it, of course, was wrong. Now, that's what journalism should be, but this journalist skipped all over that. Sam and Bucky must then hook up once again to save the world. The series has also had some accusations of queerbaiting, with the protagonist, the actor, pitching LGBTQ as characters without delivering explicit representation. This is the problem. You can never please anyone. You can never please the extreme left. Everyone has to be represented. Everyone. And when you do represent them, you haven't represented them properly. Jesus Christ, is there any space for storytelling, entertainment, and excitement anymore? No, not with these nut jobs in the industry and in the media and even some of the fans. Everyone's nuts. You're all insane. We're all going to go mad. What's going to happen? Check me into Arkham. Please, God damn it. Oh my God. Anyway, Mackie denies Sam and Bucky are a couple. According to a podcast he did with Variety during Pride Month, Mackie, who had previously acted in a gay relationship for the Black Mirror episode Striking Vipers, says that his intentions with Sam and Bucky were to portray two guys being friends and loving each other in purely platonic fashion. For Mackie, Bucky and Sam have a relationship where they learn how to accept, appreciate, and love each other. You call it a bromance, but it's literally just two guys who have each other's backs. Mackie went on at length to assure fans that the pair were just guys who hang out. Read more of what Mackie said below. It used to be guys can be friends, we can hang out. It was cool. You would always meet your friends at the bar. You can't do that anymore because something as pure and beautiful as homosexuality has been exploited by people who are trying to rationalize themselves. So something that's always been very important to me is showing a sensitive masculine figure. There's nothing more masculine than being a superhero and flying around and beating people up. But there's nothing more sensitive than having emotional conversations and a kindred spirit friendship with someone that you care about and love. This is interesting. I want to go into this in a minute. JDTSB, best comment I read is that Marvel fans will never survive being DC fans if they're losing their mind over the mild criticism of Black Widow. That's true. We've put up with shit, haven't we, brother? We really have. JDTSB, you just want to go to Arkham to have tea with Harley. Oh, yeah, please, me and Harley in a cell on our own. I mean, she'd kill me afterwards, but what a way to go. Winter Soldier actor Sebastian Stan also appearing on a variety podcast to talk about the rumours. Why are they talking about this? It seems ridiculous, doesn't it? Gave his blessing towards the fan theory. I'm just happy that the relationship is embraced. You see, Seb, is less toxic about this. But alpha male Anthony Mackie wants to make sure that everyone knows that his character and the other character are not gay. What does that say about Man of Steel hating Anthony Mackie? Talk about rumours. I'm just happy that the relationship is embraced, and it should be embraced in whatever way or fashion that people desire and want it to be. Stan said Stan has played LGBTQ characters in the TV shows Political Animals and Kings. With speculation that Bucky and Steve Rogers were as well a couple before, Rogers travelled back in time to live discreetly with Agent Peggy Carter, as the Stucky relationship theory received plenty of fan art. Stan is no stranger to fans growing cubs of intimacy into fully fledged bears of representation. Due to the lack of major and explicitly stated LGBTQ representation in the MCU, fans have been arguing for a plethora of LGBTQ relationships among the characters, from Captain Marvel with Valkyrie to Bucky Barnes with Rocket. A male raccoon with the shift into Phase 4, and the Eternals fans will soon see Atlanta's Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos, the first out superhero in the MCU for the first time. Those who have hoped to find a romance between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier should look elsewhere, as Mackie remains solid on the truth being that they're just great friends. I really want to unpackage this in a minute. I'll just check if you guys have been commenting, because I think it's funny. Better check the time. We've got about 20 minutes of this stream, so I've got to finish up my entertainment updates. But I want to talk about this. Anthony Mackie seemed very desperate to distance his character and Bucky's character against romance. And he tried to say in kind of the virtue signaling way, the great homosexuality relationship, because this is about two people being friends. I agree. Two blokes can love each other and be friends without being gay and being in love. I understand that. But you've got to be very, very careful in this environment, Anthony, when you're working so hard to distance yourself from it. Now, you did well with the kind of virtue signaling about how much you love homosexual relationships and all of that. Yeah, well done. But why are you so desperate to distance these characters away from that? At the end of the day, we all know that Falcon and the Winter Soldier are not lovers. The same people know that. Even if the fans that are putting this together are just having a bit of fun, right? Just let people have their fun. Why do you have to go so deep against people? This is the problem with people like Anthony Mackie. And I wouldn't mind if we're talking about Denzel Washington here or someone else. We're talking about Anthony Mackie, very small CV, who hasn't got a great screen presence, probably shouldn't have even been cast as this character. And so I think his ego is getting a bit too big for his head. Ronnie Dodge, well, Disney might not be the powerhouse for long, as we have Warner Brothers Discovery being born. Oh, yes, the beginning is the beginning. It's going to be awesome. I think Marvel is now on a downtrend. It'll take a while for people to work that out, but it will happen, Ronnie, and I've been predicting it for a while. JDTSB, remember when they made Lando of Star Wars pansexual? Oh, I remember. How did that contribute to the movie? It just ruined the character. And remember whose idea that was? Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who was brought in to rewrite James Bond, No Time to Die. I've seen that movie, by the way. I'm not saying anything. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who will be in Indiana Jones 5 as well. Yes, I remember the pansexual turning someone who clearly was an alpha male into a pansexual. It was hilarious. And as you say, there was no point. I don't have an issue with pansexual people. If you're pansexual and you're living your life and you're having sex with anyone or anything you want, that's great. No problem whatsoever. But if you want a pansexual character, bring one in show some nuance to that character and what it's all about to be pansexual. Educate us about it a bit. Have a self-contained story about it. But don't take an iconic character and say, well, he woke up this morning and he decided he's pansexual. It's a bit ridiculous, right? That's just my view. Trying to be as respectful as possible, of course. Oh, what a world we're living in. Am I near Arkham yet? Rick and Morty post bizarre Beth image ahead of season 5 premiere. Is that the image? I'm not sure. That's one image they're showing it, which does look a bit odd. The official Twitter account for Rick and Morty shares an image of a bizarre version of Beth ahead of the season 5 premiere on Adult Swim by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. The official Twitter account for Rick and Morty has shared an image of a bizarre version of Beth ahead of the season 5 premiere on Adult Swim. Co-created by Dan Harmon and starred Justin Roiland, the series first found life as an animated parody short of Back to the Future before Harmon and Roiland came together to flesh it out into a full project for the network. The show's story centers on a mad scientist returning to his daughter and his family and roping his grandson into a variety of misadventures throughout the galaxy and the multiverses. It's great, isn't it? I love it. In addition to co-creating and executive producing the series, Roiland leads the cast as both titular characters alongside Spencer Grammer as Morty's older sister Summer, Sarah Chalk as Morty's mother and Rick's daughter Beth, and Chris Parnell as Morty and Summer's father Jerry. Since its 2013 debut on Adult Swim, Rick and Morty has proven to be one of the biggest hits for the network, garnering rave reviews from critics and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. After a year of waiting for the next bunch of episodes from its massive 70-episode renewal, Rick and Morty Season 5 is finally right around the corner, and Adult Swim is keeping the hype train rolling. I might binge all the seasons, before it starts. With just 4 days left until the series returns, the official Twitter account for Rick and Morty took to celebrating the series' Global Recognition Day to do so. It shared a bit of artwork depicting a bizarre situation for Beth. Check out the image below. Yeah, let's look at this again. She's on this round thing. She's upside down with her legs up. This is odd. So you can see that, right? That's Beth. She looks a bit odd. What is that all about? Ronnie Dodge, I'm thinking we're getting a new trailer for Suicide Squad next week. I think that could be one of the trailers. I'm crossing my fingers for the Batman. Might be too early, but who knows? Though some still new to the series or are unfamiliar with Adult Swim may find the new image a bit confusing, those who are accustomed to both should take it in bizarre stride. The Warner Media-owned network is well known to viewers for their surreal ads and social media posts with odd takes on their characters and programs, even when their roster is already bolstered by off-the-wall shows like the Eric Andre Show and the Metaclopics. What is that? The What? Let me say that. I can't get the word right, man. The Metal Apocalypse. That's it. It's practically a competition between the creators of its shows and the network to see who can confound audiences more. The bizarre Beth image may not offer much in the way of plot insight for Rick and Morty Season 5, but past teasers have offered looks at everything from a Voltron parody to a full-on Hellraiser episode. This year will also reportedly bring the short spin-off series, The Vindicators, based on the superhero team seen in the eponymous Season 3 episode. For now, viewers can at least look forward to the arrival of Rick and Morty Season 5 this Sunday on Adult Swim. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it unless I can buy it on Prime Video. We'll have to wait and see. Really looking forward to it. Just looking how many more articles I've got listed here. Right, we carry on. We have about 10 minutes to go. Love, Victor star Michael Cimino received death threats for playing a gay role. I wanted to read this to give you the example of the crazy environment we live in now. Love Victor star Michael Cimino says he received death threats and other backlash for being a straight identified actor playing the gay lead role. You see, this is the other side of it. This is the situation these extremists create. They are very, very hateful, toxic people. The extreme left are just as dangerous as the extreme right. Both sides hating a group of people. Remember that. By Jeff Nelson of Screen Rant. Love Victor lead Michael Cimino has received death threats for being a straight identified actor playing the titular gay role after the hit film Love, Simon tugged on the heartstrings of viewers around the world. A teen comedy drama follow-up series by the name of Love Victor, who was released on Hulu. Similar to the movie, the show explores a journey of self-discovery, dealing with issues at home with family and teenage boys struggling with the sexual orientation. Casting decisions made in modern day have generated a conversation around what roles are considered acceptable for certain actors to play. Scarlett Johansson experienced plenty of this criticism between the whitewashing of Ghost in the Shell and when she was initially announced to be playing a transgender man in Rub and Tug before dropping out of the project. You see what they do? Actors can't be actors anymore. They can't play another role. They can't be another human being. Only gay people can play gay people. This is how toxic these extremists are. This sparked a debate on whether or not it matters if that an actor from outside of a given community plays a role that represents an individual within that group. No, it doesn't matter. Come and get me. Come on, argue with me, debate with me, lock yourselves in a room with me, and I'll tell you, you will go dizzy by the end of our conversation. In an interview with Attitude, Cimino and co-star George Shear discussed their relation to their characters and the LGBTQ+ community. Both actors identify as straight, which has sparked some controversy. While he knew what homophobic comments would be inevitable from some religious folks in his life, he was surprised to have it also come from some members of his family. This could actually be some alt-left propaganda, by the way, before I read his comments, but we'll see. JDTSB, can you talk about Lord of the Rings series next time? I'm not hearing much. There's not really much to tell. I mean, what I can do, if I had more time, I'd do it now for you, JDTSB. I would go onto Google and look for the cast and who's running it. I'm not sure. Someone from the Fandom Menace said it the other day. I don't like watching them, by the way, but they've got it in for this. So there is a cast list, which I will try and look for and read out to you guys. You have to remind me next time because I don't have much time left now. But yeah, apart from the cast list, there's not much information on this show. I don't even know when it's coming out, but don't worry, JDTSB, there'll be more information, there'll be trailers, there'll be on-set pictures and all of that. So don't you worry, there'll be more conversation as we get closer to that TV series, that very exciting TV series that I'm really excited about. If there's any articles about this that come out, of course, I would read them. There's not much information about this show right now. I've definitely had some criticism from the LGBT community for being in the role. I've had death threats, which is horrible, but the show is important to me. The messages of hate, I came into it knowing that would happen, regardless of how good I was. But there are some straight actors who play gay characters who are all about supporting LGBT rights while they're promoting their project. But once they're done, a year later, it's kind of forgotten. That's not how to be an ally. That's not how you support LGBT rights. If you're not an actual ally, then what are you doing? No, mate. They've played their role. They've supported the LGBT community, right? And then they've moved on. They're doing other roles. They're too busy to keep on supporting that community. That support that community got the support from you doing the film. So this is what the problem is with the alt-left, right? If you're not an ally, what are you? In other words, it's black and white. You're either an ally or an enemy. So basically, he's saying the actors, after they've moved on from these roles, are not allies. They're enemies. It's basically like the old saying that Yoda says from Star Wars prequels, only the Sith deal in absolutes. And the alt-left are absolutely the Sith. It's an honor to play Victor and a big responsibility. I went in with the pure intent to represent that correctly. How can you represent a member of the LGBTQ community correctly when everyone, no matter how they identify, is different individually? What a stupid thing to say. I went in with the pure intent to represent that correctly. I held myself to a really high standard to make sure everyone going through this story felt represented by the show. But you can't represent everyone who's gay, can you? Or everyone who's transgender, because every individual in those communities are different. It's not a community. It's a group of individual people with individual fears and loves and hopes and dreams. This is the problem with the alt-left. They've taken things to a fictional another level. These people are insane. No, not the LGBTQ community, who I absolutely support, and all communities. These extremists, they are the problem. And in fact, I'd be very surprised if these communities even like these people. Conversely, Sia expressed a different experience. Overwhelmingly, it's been really positive, said Sia. I love playing this character and I've tried to do my best to honour the responsibility of it, which is a sentiment that Simino also conveyed. He furthered the conversation by stating that this is not just a role, but an ability for him to be a real ally, here we go again, for the LGBTQ plus community. I have changed opinions. I have some friends who are religious and they've changed their perspective on things, he said, with a smile. Regardless of which side of the fence one lands on, death threats are unacceptable, obviously. This is a part of an ongoing conversation. Do you know what's interesting now? Many of these death threats are not even true. Let's be clear about that. Some of these death threats are made up just to create a story and a propaganda. This is what the alt-left do. They create propaganda against everyone else who's not a minority or LGBTQ. We'll always be careful of the alt-left. Everything they say isn't true. They are a very nefarious group of people. They cannot be trusted. They are a group of hate. The alt-left are a hate group, and they're as big a hate group as the alt-right. In fact, they both should join forces. They would get on really well together because they all hate a group of people. Don't trust them. With Hollywood regarding casting that needs to keep being discussed, actors are typically held most accountable, given their level of visibility. Although, are we all visible? Level of visibility. Although there are other factors at play, it all starts with what stories are being chosen to be told, what projects are getting funding, and who the gatekeepers are allowing to audition, as well as who is ultimately chosen for a given role. I'll tell you who the gatekeepers are: the alt-left, the extremists. Also, Nick Robinson of Love, Simon also identifies as straight, yet was awarded the part. Allyship is great, but minority groups having control over their own narratives in film and television is particularly important. In other words, actors shouldn't be actors. It should be celebrated that stories like Love Victor are finally getting a platform to be told, although that does not mean that the conversation and the work towards progress should stop. Of course not. We don't want to entertain people anymore, do we? The alt-lefts run Hollywood. They've infested the entertainment industry all over the world, and they've killed it. Simple as that. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to try and stop them. I've got my movies. That's it. I don't care. Do what you want. Destroy this beautiful art form as much as you want, but you will destroy it, and you all will be unemployed. Whether it's 10 or 20 years' time, it's going to happen. You mark my words. Because the only way people can fight back is by not going to the cinema or on streaming services and paying for this stuff. And when they don't, as they're not right now, then you will see the full brunt and consequences of your extremism. JDT SB. So if you're religious, it's a problem now. Crazy. Sign me up for Arkham 10. It's not a problem. I mean, I'm not religious. I mean, my mum was very religious when she was alive, and my dad is too, Greek Orthodox. It's not that I don't believe, but obviously some religious people take things too far. I'm not saying they don't. It's a messy situation. But listen, this stuff shouldn't be part of the entertainment industry. These extremists have taken it too far, JDTSB. And, listen, I'm just dizzy from it. I just want to enjoy my geek. That's all. These people they've destroyed the fun of watching a film or a TV show. And that's so sad. James Bond director isn't concerned about franchise under Amazon. Two-time James Bond director Martin Campbell, he also directed Green Lantern as well, by the way, doesn't think that Amazon's recent acquisition of MGM will mean bad things for the iconic super spy. By Mike Jones of Screen Rant. James Bond director Martin Campbell says that he isn't concerned over Amazon's recent acquisition of legendary 007 Super Spice franchise. By the way, they didn't need MGM, they didn't need Amazon to destroy it, did they? Because basically, No Time to Die is going to do that. Imagine, as a Bond actor, bringing in Phoebe Waller-Bridge and letting Bond become a beta male. You know, we're in crazy times, right? Anyway, over potential changes, so at least one Bond insider to express. Hang on, let's have a go. Amazon's recent. So let's start again. James Bond director Martin Campbell says that he isn't concerned over Amazon's recent acquisition of the legendary 007 Super Spy franchise. MGM's sale has prompted fans and at least one Bond insider to express concern over potential changes to the series, particularly in light of the fact that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has previously gone on record to state that the multinational tech company plans to reimagine the IP for the 21st century. Well, again, haven't you already done that, right? Oh, you lot haven't seen No Time to Die. Just you wait. Since his big screen debut in 1962, Ian Fleming's James Bond character has seen numerous changes, initially content to reveal in the sort of toxic masculinity that left a little room for female characters to evolve beyond objects. But you know what? That's the world. Maybe, and this is controversial, maybe in some films, men and women can be objects. In fact, even some men in the Bond movie universe have been objects. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we can have some films where women are objects and even men are objects, or anyone identifying in any ways can be objects. I'm happy to be a sexual object, right? It ain't a fucking problem. It's not a feeling I've had before, right? So it's okay. But so again, this is not an issue, but to extremists, of course, this is an issue. And this is why Miss Phoebe Waller-Bridge was brought on to No Time to Die, to make sure that Bond is destroyed good and proper. So Jeff Bezos didn't need to do anything. Jeff Bezos now has to fix it. Objects, the passing decade have slowly but surely put the franchise on a different course. This isn't to say that the films don't still retain much of what originally made the characters such a hit. But the start of the Daniel Craig era in particular shaped Bond as a more empathetic character whose acknowledgement of women moved beyond physical conquest. By the way, Bond isn't a compassionate character. That's why he is so successful in his missions, because he forces himself not to care. This is the problem with these extremists. They don't even understand what they're doing. This sort of long overdue approach will likely receive an even greater boost with the upcoming and long-delayed final Craig outing in No Time to Die. Oh, yes, which was co-written by Fleabag phenomenon Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yeah, you just remind everyone of that, right? And so will I. I can't wait until you've all seen this film. It's going to be hilarious. How, despite the modernisation of Bond now fully underway, the changing of the guard from MGM to Amazon has led many questions regarding the franchise's future. MGM has always been careful with regards to how it handles the continuous adventures of 007, and with Amazon calling the shots, the reimagining that Bezos has spoken of could mean many things. Bond fans are typically reserved lot when it comes to altering the formula that has made Bond what he is, meaning talk of changes initiated by a tech corporation isn't all that encouraging. But at least one creative within the Bond IP director, Martin Campbell, has stated by a business insider that he isn't worried about what's next for 007. Read what Campbell said below. No one's going to fuck around with their success. It's Barbara and Michael's franchise, no matter who's providing the money. They've been through many changes and regimes and survived them all. This is a bit different, Martin. Very, very different. Bezos is not providing the money, my friend. They own the fucking franchise. Yes, I know. Wilson and Broccoli own a portion of it too, and I get it. But this is the beginning of a civil war that eventually, in a few years' time, will see Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli be removed as any ownership or leadership in the Bond. You know, what's their company called? I forgot now. I forgot what the company's called. Doesn't matter. But they will be removed eventually. It will be a war. It will be a dark war. But Amazon and Bezos will remove these people from the ownership of having any ownership of James Bond. Cameron is known for two defining films in the Bond catalogue, 1995's GoldenEye and 2006's Craig debut, Casino Royale. His assertion that the franchise has survived much in order to get it to where it currently is makes sense, but ultimately Amazon has the sort of money to play with the IP. It's exactly that type of tinkering which many fans fear. Despite its vast collection of projects under the Amazon Prime banner, the corporation's entry into film and television is still extremely new when compared to Bond's legacy. Still, if anyone knows just how strong Broccoli and Wilson's grasp on the franchise is, it will be someone like Campbell, who has previously helped usher in new eras for Bond. Criticism of Amazon's acquisition of MGM could indeed be valid, and there's really no reason at all not to believe that Bezos' fondness for big profits won't extend to James Bond. Yet at the same time, fans of the franchise where am I? Bloody notifications, go away. Not to believe that Bezos' fondness for big profits won't extend to James Bond. Yet at the same time, fans of the franchise know what they do and don't want to see. Should Amazon take the franchise in the wrong direction, it will be a costly mistake that fans will ensure isn't repeated. James Bond simply isn't the sort of franchise that can be spun off into multimedia of different stories, as Disney has done with the Star Wars franchise. In fact, it can, and I'll explain how. So if Bezos' plans to reimagine the IP for the 21st century involves the mimicking of that sort of trajectory, it could be a big mistake. No, in fact, unlike No Time to Die, this could be a great idea, and I'll explain how very shortly. Hang on a minute, I want to do something. I want to retweet something. That's it. So I might do a pre-recorded editorial later on about it. Anyway, where are we? Brandon Davis, I suppose he's a bit of a Disney shill and an MCU shill, got a bit angry this morning. Stop telling people what to like or the thing they like is dumb. Someone likes Marvel, ? Cool. Someone prefers DZ, ? Great. A person still enjoys The Walking Dead, ? All right. They say pineapple belongs on pizza, ? They're right. The thing is, right, Brandon, I agree with everything you're saying, but the problem for me is here, when Batman v Superman fans were being bullied toxically before the Snyderverse fandom came out to defend itself, nobody stuck up for us, right? But now it's happening to the MCU. You're there to make a big angry statement, aren't you, Brandon? Anyway, I thought I'd react to that. Joining Eternals was stressful because of Marvel secrecy, says Salma Hayek. Oh, you poor thing, Salma. I really feel sorry for you. Actually, I've always wanted to date this woman. There's something intoxicatingly sexy about her and interesting. I know the SJWs won't like that kind of talk, but I'm just being honest, right? This is by T.C. Phillips of Screen Rant. Salma Hayek, star of the upcoming 26th MCU film Eternals, has commented on the stress which came with the role's enormous amount of secrecy. First announced in 2018, Marvel's Eternals is set to be helmed by No Man Land's Academy Award-winning director, just in case you didn't know, Chloe Zhao, centered on the race of secretive immortals who have been in hiding on Earth for 7,000 years. They reunite to protect humanity from their evil counterparts, the Deviants. Featuring an all-star ensemble cast which includes Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, Kumuni Nanjiani, Gemma Chan, Lauren Ridloff, Don Lee, and Kit Harington, Hayek is slated to play the role of the eternal spiritual leader, Ajak, originally created as a male character by Marvel legend Jack Kirby. So they gender bent it, did they? I didn't know that. But thank you, Screen Rant. This doesn't come to any surprise, does it? Created as a male character by Marvel legend Jack Kirby, Ajak can manipulate cosmic energy to heal and has the ability to communicate with the Celestials, the first sentient beings in the universe who were introduced into the MCU in Guardians of the Galaxy, originally announced for late 2020 release. Eternals is now slated for a November the 5th premiere. While speaking with USA Today about her upcoming film, The Hitman's Wife's Body, in which she stars with Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds, Hayek also opened up about the stresses which came with Marvel's strict secrecy requirements, explaining that she signed on to the project without even getting to read the script. She said that it was really stressful. It's like marrying a guy you've never met. While she was not able to say much about the film's plot, she was able to also elaborate on the problems she also had with her character's elaborate headpiece. Read what Hayek had to say. Let me say that again. Read what Hayek said below. Not that it matters if it's up there or down there, does it? It's a nightmare. You have to drive to these locations and their headpiece doesn't fit in the car, so you have to do your yoga to get out into the car, and everybody guards the headpiece like it's like a special jewel. People are walking after you. It's not easy to put it on. You do get a headache. Oh my God, you poor millionaire, or probably billionaire by now. With the Marvel Cinematic Universe dominating the box office, another reminder there, and generating billions in revenue, it is not surprising that Kevin Feige and the folks at Marvel Studios are serious about having the story details of their upcoming projects locked down tight. Being able to remain tight-lipped is an important skill for any MCU star, and one of the Spider-Man No Way Home stars, Tom Holland, has had some very public difficulties with over the years. While Hayek seems to have encountered her own problems with the need for secrecy, at least she has not let any potential spoilers slip. With the first three MCU phases now canonically referred to as the Infinity Saga, the new Phase 4 content marks a major rebirth for the brand, which will now seek to move into new territory after losing some of their biggest heroes. The mystery surrounding the Eternals and why they have been so insistent on refusing to interfere in previous cataclysmic events in the MCU has already been the source of much fan debate, something which the film will need to answer. Exactly how they will do this, however, will continue to be a closely guarded secret, unless that is Hayek and her co-stars start talking lessons in protecting confidentiality from Tom Holland. Yeah. JDT, hang on. JDTSB. Yeah, I remember the BVS days. The battle scars are deep. They absolutely are. JDTSB. Although I wasn't a comics fan for the Eternals, I thought they were all originally white. I wouldn't be able to answer you that story, but that wouldn't surprise me. JDTSB. Isn't Hayek married to a French billionaire? Probably. But the poor baby had to wear an uncomfortable headpiece. Everyone feels sorry for the billionaire's wife, right? These people are astonishing. Right, we have one more article for you. It's been a long stream. My voice can certainly tell that we've nearly been on the stream for 2 hours, but it's been a great stream and I've really enjoyed it. So finally, Lawrence Fishburne adamant he's not involved with Matrix 4. To me, this is a big tragedy. What is the point without him? I know we've got Keanu and the rest, and it's exciting, but it's not fair. Lawrence Fishburne adamantly says that he will not be playing Morpheus again in Matrix 4. Despite the character surviving the first trilogy by Cooper Hood of Screen Rant, Lawrence Fishburne adamantly states he will not play Morpheus in Matrix 4 after revolutionizing sci-fi movies. With the first Matrix movie, the franchise hit a rough end in 2003 when the two underwhelming sequels arrived in theaters a few months apart. The Matrix Revolutions seemed to have a definitive ending, with both Neo Keanu Reeves and Trinity Carrie-Anne Moss dying. Despite this conclusion, it was finally announced in 2019 that Matrix 4 was officially happening instead of the long-rumored reboot. The announcement of Matrix 4 came with the news that several people involved with the original trilogy were returning. Lana Wachowski is back to write and direct the highly anticipated sequel. Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss headline the list of returning stars, with Jada Pinkett Smith also expected to appear as Niobe. But some major members of the franchise won't be back. Hugo Weaving, which is a huge mistake, has previously confirmed fans won't see him as Agent Smith once more, and there have been repeated questions about the appearance of Morpheus. Lawrence Fishburne played Morpheus in all three previous Matrix movies, and he is currently doing press for his new movie, The Ice Road. This included an interview with Jake Hamilton, who asked Fishburne about the possibility of him appearing in Matrix 4. Unfortunately for fans hoping to see him play Morpheus later this year, Fishburne firmly denied that this will happen, saying, "I'm not involved. You'll have to talk to Lana Wachowski, and she'll answer that question for you." Looks like there's a bit of bad blood there. Fishburne not appearing in Matrix 4 is quite surprising, all things considered. Unlike Neo and Trinity, Morpheus did survive Matrix Revelations. He led the charge on Zion and in the fight against the machines and got to see the city become free once again. This makes Morpheus the most likely character to return in Matrix 4. So him being the one who won, it's something that something the movie will need to explain. Of course, the absence of Fishburne doesn't necessarily mean that Morpheus isn't involved in Matrix 4 in some capacity, which means they could recast him, which would be even more disgusting. One of the biggest rumours about Matrix 4's cast and story is that Yahya Abdul-Mateen 2 is playing a younger Morpheus. This was rumoured around the time that the Aquaman star was first revealed to be in talks. Now listen, I love him. I love Yahya, right? I do. But he's not Lawrence Fishburne. He's so unique in this role. You just can't do it. It's just not going to work, even with a younger version. The first revealed to be in talks to join the movie, but it has yet to be confirmed if Abdul-Mateen is a young Morpheus. Then the movie's setting could explain why Fishburne isn't around. Then again, maybe Matrix 4 is adhering to the story of a continuation video game, and Morpheus is dead during the movie. No matter what explanation is given for Fishburne not appearing in Matrix 4, fans will certainly continue to hold out hope that this will change somehow if the franchise continues on. Yeah, this is a bitter blow. I mean, obviously, you know, whoever's not returning to this from the original is sad. But Lawrence Fishburne is absolutely devastating. It really is sad that he's not coming back. And, you know, I'm really heartbroken about this. And I've known this for quite a while, but I know this is a new story. I know that there may need to be a younger version of this character. JDTSB, they don't look alike. They don't. It's ridiculous. Why would you do this? The only thing I can think of is that Fishburne and Wolski have fallen out. But I don't know any more than that. You don't know any more of that. But all we can do is kind of feel a bit sad that we're not going to see him in this film. As the journalist said, Cooper Hood, as Cooper said, maybe he'll show up in the future movies. Maybe he could even get his own spin-off. I hope so, because he deserves better. And he's an awesome Perry White. He shouldn't have been cut out of Justice League either, right? And that was a shame as well. Great actor, a lot of time for him. He was in a film called Undercover when he was young or something like that, and he was awesome in that. And I've loved the actor ever since. Well, that's it for the Movies TV Mad Daily Live. We've been on the stream. We've been on air for nearly 2 hours. We've spoken about certain issues in entertainment. So many things going on. James Gunn responding to my comments about the MCU culture. I really enjoyed talking about that. I enjoyed updating you with all the entertainment articles. That's been great as well. Don't forget, Movies TV Mad Live is back tonight at 6:30 p.m. UK time. Please check your local times. I'll be back then. I will set up a link a couple of hours before the show streams so you don't miss it. And if you see the link, come in, start commenting early so I can feed off of that when the show starts. It means that we don't have to start from scratch. It makes the stream and the show a lot more entertaining. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Movies TV Mad 555. So until tonight, 6:30 p.m. UK time, check your local times. I'm saying goodbye to you. Thank you very much. Until then, goodbye, and thank you for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic, as per usual. Bye-bye.